Hi, this is Nancy, and welcome to my Caregiver Journal. I've been reading a book called Compassionomics recently for a class that I'm taking, and it talks about the idea that medical professionals can use compassion as part of their plan for working with patients. And compassion has effects on patients that can be tracked. They can see the difference in patients and their recovery or the way they get through a serious illness when the professionals that they're dealing with show compassion. As I have read this book, which I recommend for anyone interested, I have thought about our experience as Dan has gone through his cancer journey, and his primary oncologist is the greatest example of someone who combines medical information and treatments with compassion, to the point where one day I looked at him and I said, how can you do this? How can this be your career? Because we know that with cancer, despite all of the treatments and his great knowledge and care, for most of his patients, it's not going to end with recovery. And he looked at me and he said, well, Nancy, he goes, I look at this not as numbers, but as people. Dan is my patient. He's not a number on my list. Dan is a person. And other times I thought about how when we were first in the emergency room, because Dan was having a breathing problem, getting over pneumonia, so that's what we were expecting, a doctor said, you need to wrap your mind around cancer, and left the room. And I was just taken aback, and I don't even know if Dan heard it or not, but the next few days I was trying to piece that together. At the beginning of COVID, he was in the hospital that first week of COVID, and I could not be there, which was a shock to our systems because we had done everything together. And occasionally a doctor would call me and tell me what was going on. And one of the times they were trying a new treatment, and I asked the doctor, I said, is Dan ever going to come home? Am I ever going to get to see him again? And his response was, well, you might now, because he thought this treatment might actually work. So sometimes the way we say things and what we say can really have a great impact. Another thing to consider when you're talking to either a caregiver or someone with a serious illness is that, speaking for myself, I'm not always firing from the front of my brain. I'm not always rational. I'm not always at my best emotional self. So everything that you say to me is going through that emotional filter. So you might say something, oh, of course he'll get better. And I'm sitting in my brain and I'm coming up with the 5 top reasons why that's not true. And it's hurtful to me that you don't want to hear those 5 reasons. And again, you can just see my brain's going. So compassion is important. And in the book, it says that compassion is the partner to empathy. So you might understand my story, but how can you act on that? And vice versa for you, from me. So think about the idea of compassion. Think about what that means to you. I can tell you for a fact, compassion has been important to us as we've gone through this. Because Dr. Siroha is so compassionate, it doesn't matter what he tells us. If we like it, if we don't, we listen to him. We trust him because he has knowledge and experience and compassion. Compassion helps. Compassion is important.